Imagine this, you're in a glittering ballroom, chandeliers sparkling like stars, soft music wrapping around hundreds of smiling couples, and the woman you've loved for 12 years slowly walks toward you, her hand trembling as she reaches out, eyes full of quiet hope, whispering, "Dance with me." But you look away and say no. The room keeps spinning, laughter echoes, yet inside you everything freezes. Why would any husband refuse his own wife at a moment like that? Stay with me until the very last word of this story, because what happens next on that lonely balcony will shatter your heart, rebuild it stronger than before, and leave you whispering to yourself, "I never knew love could hurt this much, or heal this deeply." If you've ever felt pushed away by the person you love most, this true feeling tale is for you. Keep watching, because the ending might just save the marriage you're fighting for right now. Matthew Collins had always believed marriage was the safest place on earth. 12 years earlier, in a small Austin coffee shop, he had spilled his latte all over Victoria's favorite book, and instead of getting angry she had laughed, the kind of laugh that made the whole room feel warmer. From that messy first meeting they built everything together, a cozy home with a backyard swing, late-night talks about dreams, Sunday pancakes, and the quiet promise that no matter what life threw at them, they would face it side by side. Victoria was the light in every room, kind, ambitious, the woman who could turn a bad day into a memory worth keeping. Matthew worked long hours at the architecture firm, but every evening he came home to her arms and felt like the luckiest man alive. Then, almost a year ago, something invisible started to change. At first it was small things. Victoria would cancel their Friday movie nights saying she was tired. She stopped reaching for his hand while they watched television. Conversations that once lasted hours became short, careful exchanges about groceries and bills. Matthew noticed the way she winced when she stood up too quickly, the way she hid her hands under the table when they shook. He asked, gently at first, then with growing worry, "Baby, are you okay? Talk to me." Each time she smiled that same practiced smile and answered, "I'm fine, Matt. Just work stress." But her eyes told a different story, sad, distant, guarded. He tried everything. Flowers on random Tuesdays, surprise weekend getaways, even leaving little notes in her lunch bag like they did when they were dating. Nothing worked. The more he reached out, the further she pulled away, sleeping on the edge of the bed, locking the bathroom door when she cried. Matthew began to feel invisible in his own home. Nights became torture, lying awake wondering what he had done wrong, replaying every argument, every missed anniversary. He stopped telling his friends how happy he was because the truth was, he was terrified. The woman he married was disappearing right in front of him, and no matter how loud he screamed inside, she wouldn't let him help. Then came the invitation to the charity gala in Dallas. Victoria had insisted they attend. "It's important for your career," she said, her voice steady for the first time in months. She even bought a new emerald green dress that made her look like the girl he fell in love with. Matthew felt a spark of hope. Maybe this night would be the turning point. Maybe she was finally ready to let him back in. He rented a tuxedo, practiced slow dance steps in the living room when she wasn't looking, and whispered to himself, "Tonight I'm going to remind her why we chose each other." The Grand Regency Hotel ballroom was breathtaking, crystal chandeliers, soft jazz floating through the air, tables dressed in white linen and candlelight. Victoria looked stunning, but from the moment they walked in she began drifting. She smiled politely at his colleagues, laughed at their jokes, yet every time Matthew tried to pull her close, she found an excuse, another drink, a quick trip to the powder room, a conversation across the room. He watched her from a distance, heart cracking with every step she took away from him. The months of rejection rushed back like a wave. All the nights she had turned her back, all the "I'm fines" that meant nothing. By the time the lights dimmed for the slow dance, something inside Matthew had finally broken. The orchestra began playing their song, the same melody that had played at their wedding 12 years earlier. Couples around them melted into each other's arms. Victoria turned to Matthew, her eyes shining with something he couldn't quite read, hope, fear, maybe both. She extended her hand, voice soft above the music. Dance with me, Matt. Please. For months he had waited for her to reach for him like this. Now, standing there with the entire room watching, he felt every unanswered question, every lonely night, every hidden tear she had refused to share. His throat tightened. He looked at her outstretched hand and quietly said, "No." The single word landed like a stone in still water. Victoria's face crumpled. She pulled her hand back as if burned, whispered, "Okay," and walked away, shoulders trembling. Matthew stood frozen, regret already flooding in, but pride and pain kept his feet planted. He watched her slip through the crowd and disappear onto the moonlit balcony. The music kept playing, but inside him everything went silent. After what felt like forever, he followed. The night air was cool, city lights sparkling below like scattered diamonds. Victoria stood at the railing, tears streaming down her face, the emerald dress fluttering in the breeze. She didn't turn around when he stepped closer. For a long moment neither of them spoke. Then, in a voice so small it almost disappeared into the wind, she said, "I have a rare autoimmune disease, Matt. The doctors call it something I can barely pronounce. It started last year. They say it could get worse. I might need help with everything one day. I didn't want you to stay out of pity. I pushed you away because I love you too much to make you carry my pain." Matthew felt the world tilt. All those months of distance, the locked doors, the forced smiles, it wasn't because she stopped loving him. It was because she loved him so fiercely she tried to protect him from herself. He stepped forward, gently turning her to face him. "Victoria, look at me. I didn't marry the healthy version of you. I married you. The woman who laughs at my terrible jokes, who makes the best coffee in the world, who held my hand through my father's funeral. Sickness, health, good days, bad days, I signed up for all of it. You don't get to decide for me what I can handle. Let me love you the way you deserve, even when it's hard." Tears mixed with the city lights on her cheeks. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing the kind of sobs that come only after holding everything inside for too long. He held her tighter than he had in a year, rocking her gently as the music from inside drifted out to them. When she finally looked up, eyes red but shining with something new, hope, he whispered, "Now, will you dance with me?" They stepped back into the ballroom, hands locked, hearts wide open. The same song was still playing, as if the universe had waited for them. This time, when they danced, every step carried 12 years of memories and a brand new promise. The disease hadn't disappeared. There would still be doctor visits, uncertain mornings, and days when her body betrayed her. But now they faced it together, no more hiding, no more pushing away. Months later, sitting on their Austin porch swing at sunset, Victoria rested her head on Matthew's shoulder and said softly, "Thank you for refusing to dance that night. You gave me back my courage to fight." He kissed her forehead and answered, "And you taught me that real love doesn't run when things get scary. It stays, it listens, and it dances anyway." So here's the truth this story leaves us with, my friend: marriage isn't about perfect days or flawless health. It's about choosing each other even when the road gets dark. When someone you love starts pushing you away, don't assume they've stopped caring. Sometimes they're protecting you the only way they know how. Have the hard conversations. Refuse to dance until honesty brings you back together. Because the strongest bonds aren't the ones that never crack, they're the ones that get repaired with truth, forgiveness, and the quiet promise to keep showing up. If this story touched you, remember, your own love story might need the same kind of courage right now. Hold on a little tighter tonight. You never know what healing is waiting on the other side of one honest dance.